What's going on, everyone? Mitesh here, and Samsung just announced their brand new Galaxy S20 series phone, and I gotta tell you guys, they look really good, especially that Ultra phone. That thing looks so good. But you know what's not great? The prices on these phones. The Galaxy S20 now starts at $1,000. There's no longer an E variant or a slightly less pricey one that comes in under $1,000 anymore. It is a minimum of $1,000 and $1,400 if you want to go for the Ultra model. And guys, that is just way too expensive for smartphones. But you know what? That's not what this video is about. This video is not knocking down those phones because those phones are probably worth the money because they give you the best specs out there. If you want the bleeding edge of technology, the S20 series is probably it. But for those of you who, want to save some money on your phones, today I've got for you guys a new phone. This right here is the Galaxy A51. This is a mid-range phone from Samsung that still packs quite a bit of technology in here for a fraction of the cost. This thing costs a third of what the base model Galaxy S20 costs at just around $300. And in this video, I'm going to do a little bit of an unboxing and first impressions of this phone so you guys can know what to expect if you guys want something like this. I will be doing a full review later on, so make sure you guys subscribe and have notifications turned on so you guys don't miss that. But without further ado, let's get into it. Alright, so let's start off with the unboxing. So once you wiggle this box open, you can find the Galaxy A51 itself, and on the opposite side you find a box. There's the SIM tray remover on the back, and then once you open it up the right way, that's when you'll find yourself a clear plastic TPU case. Now, it's always nice to see these inside the box. You can just use this until you find yourself a better one, but always nice to see. And then of course the quick start guide. Now let's take a look at this phone. So as you guys can see, I got the Prism Blue Crush, and I think this thing looks gorgeous. It's got the same aura glow effect that you had on the Galaxy S10s, but let's see what else you get in the box. So of course you get your fast charger. This is a Samsung 15-watt charger. You also get a pair of headphones that have a 3.5mm head jack because this thing still has the headphone jack. And then you get a USB-A to USB-C cable. Okay, now let's get this plastic off of the phone and turn it on. So there we go. It's always fun to do. So yeah, over here you guys can see the quad camera array on the back of the phone. It looks really good. Let's get some of the more of this tape off. There we go. Okay, now let's get this phone powered on. And there it is, Samsung Galaxy A51 powered by Android 10. You guys can see there's still a little bit more tape down here. It's such a pain to get it all off. And there you go, it's powered on. Now I'm just going to go ahead and input all my information into this, and I'll be right back with the first impressions. Alright, so moving on with the first impressions of my phone, and the first thing I want to talk about is, of course, the screen on here. The screen on here is a 6.5-inch 1080p AMOLED display, and it is one of the best displays I've ever seen on a mid-range device. Now, part of that is, of course, the fact that you don't really get AMOLED displays at this price on most manufacturers' phones, but of course, Samsung makes these panels, so they give themselves a pretty good price on these, I'm sure. And this panel is really good looking. Now, it's got all the dinky blacks that you want out of the OLED displays, but it's also got really vibrant colors. In terms of brightness, it doesn't get quite as bright as, like, of course, the Galaxy S10 series or the new S20s, but it gets plenty bright. Like, I have no problem seeing this thing in direct sunlight, although I haven't had a ton of direct sunlight living here in Seattle, but from what I've seen, I have had no issues with this phone. So yeah, screen-wise, this thing is gorgeous, especially that hole punch cutout at the top. That thing is just inconspicuous. It is so tiny, and the bezels around the screen are just so small thanks to that little teardrop notch. So I gotta tell you guys, this screen is really wowed me. This does not feel like a $300 phone. This feels like Galaxy S10 territory and feels like it could be easily $700, $800. But yeah, the screen is one of the best parts about this phone. Now, something that's not so great about this phone is a single bottom firing speaker. So when you're watching videos on this thing, this speaker, which is firing at the bottom here, is really easy to cover up. And that's something that I really don't like about it. I'm so used to having dual speakers on all my phones now that having a single bottom firing speaker is just, it's not been great. Now, it gets decently loud, so it's not really been too much of an issue, but I really wish they would have put dual speakers on this thing. That would have made this phone just fantastic for media consumption. But sadly, we don't have that. But what we do have is a headphone jack, so that's really nice to see. This is something that's no longer available in the Galaxy S20 phone, so if you want a headphone jack in 2020, this is a phone worth considering. And next up, let's talk about performance on this phone. The performance on this phone, I would say, has been great to good. Now, this phone is rocking a Exynos mid-range processor, which I'm not too familiar with. It's the 9611, and it's an okay processor from what I can tell. It runs just fine. Like I think you can easily compete with any of the Snapdragon 700 series phones out there. But yeah, it's just not, like, I do notice some performance hiccups, especially when launching the camera. It just takes like a second longer than I wanted to launch the camera. When you're using some of the Samsung features like the slide out menu that it has, it opens up, but then it's just like a little bit of a visual glitch, and then it will fully open up. So yeah, performance has been good, but it's not been like amazing. It's been decent. It's gonna get most people through the day without any problems. Like even doing things like the pop-up windows like Samsung's allowed to do, it still works just fine. It's just that it may take a second for the pop-up window to open. If you're trying to rearrange it, it may just take a little bit longer than it will with a flagship series phone. But it's really not that big of a deal. And the other thing I want to talk about was actually the fingerprint reader. So the fingerprint reader on here is an optical one, and I gotta tell you guys, it is a super consistent fingerprint reader. So I've had much more luck with this than I've had with my Galaxy or my OnePlus 6T in terms of consistency. But I will say that it is significantly slower than my OnePlus 6T at unlocking the phone. So it just takes a second. And like you can see, it's like even when I've turned off the animation and stuff, it just takes a second to unlock the screens. But me personally, I do wish that we just had a regular capacitive fingerprint reader on the back. It is cool if they have it under display, but I would have just preferred it on the back because I feel like it's just easier for me to use, and it would have been faster. All right, and finally, let's talk about the cameras on this phone. So the cameras on here, there's 4 of them. This is more than you get in most flagship phones, but the main camera on here is a 48 megapixel regular shooter. You've also got a 12 megapixel ultra wide camera. Then you've got a 5 megapixel macro camera. And then the 4th lens is a depth sensing time of flight sensor. So that'll help you get better portrait shots and things like that. But yeah, what's really interesting about this is that macro sensor. So it's just 5 megapixels and it's fixed focus. So you have to get like super close to your subject to get it. And you know, it's produced some really interesting shots in like really good lighting. In bad lighting, it's a pretty bad camera. I would actually say that's pretty much about all the cameras on here. In bad lighting, they don't do a great job. I'll throw some sample pictures up here so you guys can see. But in good lighting, you can get some pretty nice shots out of this. Now, I do wish it had a telephoto lens instead of that time of flight camera, but I mean, an ultra wide is still really nice to see here. It's my first time with an ultra wide camera. I gotta tell you guys, it's actually really fun to play around with, like just seeing more of the world. And this thing is a really wide ultra wide camera. So yeah, it's a lot of fun to play with. And I still need more testing to see if it's worth it. And I will be doing a dedicated video on the cameras themselves and seeing if there's a Gcam app that we can apply to this. I haven't found a great one yet, but if I find one, I will definitely make a video about it. But yeah, that is my first impressions of this phone. I think for $350 or $300 that it's been retailing for, I think it's a great phone to get for the price. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. Like this one if you liked it, subscribe if you guys loved it, and definitely subscribe if you guys want to see more videos about this phone because I will be making them in the upcoming weeks. So let me know if there's any questions you guys have about this down in the comments below, and I will be sure to answer them in the full review. So with that, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye!